My wife vanished with 125K and left a note saying, "Don't look for me." 2 years later, she knocked on my door and met my fiancé. It wasn't the silence that woke me up. It was the notification from the bank. 3:14 a.m. I stared at the glowing screen of my phone, forcing my eyes to focus. "Transfer confirmation, $125,000. I blinked. I sat up in bed, heart hammering against my ribs like a trapped bird. That was our life savings. That was the retirement fund. That was the money for the lake house we'd talked about buying since we were 25. I looked over at the other side of the bed. Empty made sense. Stacy sometimes slept in the guest room if my snoring got too bad. But the sheets were cold. Ice cold. I jumped up, running barefoot down the hallway, calling her name. "Stacy! Stace!" Nothing but the hum of the refrigerator. I checked the garage. Her car was gone. I checked the closet. Her clothes, the expensive stuff, the jewelry box, the designer bags, gone. And then I saw it. Taped to the bathroom mirror. A yellow sticky note. A goddamn sticky note. "I need to live before I die. Don't look for me. I'm sorry." Sorry? She wipes out our entire future, leaves me at 52 years old with nothing but a mortgage and a bad back, and writes, "I'm sorry," on a piece of paper she probably stole from her office. I dialed her number. "The number you have dialed is no longer in service." I dialed again. My hands were shaking so bad, I almost dropped the phone. Panic started to claw at my throat. I didn't call the police immediately. I called my son, Brad. He's 28, works in tech in Seattle. I figured he'd know what to do. Maybe he'd heard from her. "Dad?" His voice was groggy. "It's like 4 a.m. "Your mother's gone," I choked out. "She took the money, Brad. She took everything." Silence. Long, heavy silence. "Brad? Dad?" "Look," he sighed, and the tone of his voice made my blood run cold. It wasn't shock. It was exhaustion. "She told me she might do this. She said she felt stifled. She said you were suffocating her with your routine." "Suffocating her?" I yelled, gripping the counter. "I worked 60-hour weeks to pay for her hobbies. I paid for your college. I paid for her trips to Europe with the girls. She knew you knew?" "She made me promise not to say anything," he mumbled. "She just needs space, Dad. Don't be dramatic." Dramatic. My wife of 30 years steals 125 grand, abandons me in the middle of the night, and my own son calls me dramatic. I hung up. I didn't slam the phone. I just pressed the button and stood there in the dark kitchen, feeling like the floor had just dissolved. That was the moment. That was when the Bruce everyone knew died. The nice guy, the provider, the pushover. I didn't collapse. I didn't cry. I walked to the coffee maker, brewed a pot, and sat at the kitchen table until the sun came up, staring at that sticky note. I need to live. Well, Stacy, so do I. The first week was a blur of logistics and humiliation. I went to the bank. The manager, a guy I've known for 10 years, looked at me with pity that made me want to punch the glass partition. "It was a joint account, Bruce," he said softly. "She had full authorization. There's nothing we can do." "It's theft!" I slammed my hand on the desk. "She planned this." "It's a civil matter," he said, handing me a tissue I didn't take. I went to the police. Same story. "She's an adult, sir. She's allowed to leave, unless you have proof she was coerced or is in danger." "I'm in danger!" I laughed, a manic sound that made the officer step back. "I'm in danger of losing my house." They did nothing. I called Brad again. He didn't answer. I texted him, "If you talk to her, tell her she's dead to me." He read it. No reply. I was alone, completely, utterly alone. The friends we had, they were couples friends. And when a wife leaves a husband like that, people pick sides. Surprisingly, or maybe not, most of them went quiet. They didn't want the drama. They didn't want to hear about the middle-aged man who got taken to the cleaners. I drank too much whiskey that first month. I gained 10 pounds. I stopped shaving. I looked like a wreck. Then, about 6 weeks in, I caught my reflection in the hallway mirror, the same mirror where she'd left the note. I looked pathetic, sad, old. Is this it? I asked myself. You gonna let her win? You gonna let her take the money and your dignity? I smashed the mirror, just punched right through it. Blood on my knuckles, glass on the floor. It felt good. I cleaned up the glass, I bandaged my hand. And then I made a plan. I wasn't going to chase her. I wasn't going to beg. I was going to build something she couldn't touch. I own a landscaping business. Small, local. Green Thumb Guys. We did okay, but I'd always kept it small because Stacy didn't like me working weekends. She wanted me home to mow our lawn, to drive her to brunches, to exist in her orbit. Screw that. I poured everything I had left, which wasn't much, into the business. I took out a small business loan. I bought new equipment. I hired 3 college kids who were hungry for work. I started bidding on commercial contracts, office parks, HOAs, the big stuff. I worked like a dog. 4 a.m. to 9 p.m., 7 days a week. Physical labor, digging trenches, laying sod, planting trees. The weight fell off. The whiskey bloat vanished. My muscles, dormant for a decade, came back hard. I cut my hair. I bought clothes that actually fit, not the beige dad wear Stacy always picked out for me. 6 months in, I landed the contract for the new tech campus downtown. It was huge. It required me to hire 10 more guys. I was so busy I didn't have time to miss her. I didn't have time to check her social media, which she had deleted anyway. And then I met Elena. She was the project manager for the tech campus construction, 42 years old. Sharp eyes, a laugh that sounded like a cello, and a no-nonsense attitude that terrified my crew, but made me grin. We were arguing about the placement of a retaining wall. "It's going to collapse if you put it there," I told her, pointing at the blueprints. "The architect says it goes there," she snapped, adjusting her hard hat. "The architect draws pretty pictures," I said, leaning in. "I deal with dirt. You want a wall or a landslide?" She stopped. She looked at the dirt. She looked at me. A slow smile spread across her face. "Okay, landscaping man. Show me where it should go." We got coffee after the site walk. Coffee turned to dinner. Dinner turned to talking until 2 a.m. in my truck outside her apartment. She was divorced too. Her ex had gambled away their savings. We bonded over the betrayal, but we didn't dwell on it. We were both focused on the now. Elena was different. She didn't want me to fix her. She didn't want to change me. She just liked me. She liked that I worked hard. She liked that I listened. "You're intense, Bruce," she told me one night, tracing the scar on my hand from the mirror. But good intense. A year passed, then 18 months. My business exploded. I paid off the mortgage. I bought a new truck. I renovated the house. Stacy's floral wallpaper, gone. The beige carpets, ripped out, replaced with hardwood. It looked like a bachelor's pad, stylish and clean. Brad called me a few times, usually when he needed money. "Hey, Dad, rent's up." "Ask your mother," I'd say, and hang up. He stopped calling. 2 years. That's how long it had been. Elena and I were engaged. I proposed on the retaining wall we'd argued about. She laughed and almost fell off, but she said yes. We were sitting in the living room on a Tuesday night. It was raining. We were watching a movie, drinking wine, my arm around her shoulders. Life was good, peaceful. Then a knock at the door, heavy, desperate. I frowned. It was 9:30 p.m. "Expecting someone?" Elena asked. "No." I got up. I walked to the door. I didn't check the peephole. I just swung it open. And there she was, Stacy, but not the Stacy who left. That Stacy had been perfectly manicured, blonde highlights, expensive skincare. This woman looked gray. Her hair was dull, pulled back in a messy bun. Her raincoat was cheap plastic. She looked 10 years older. She looked thin, but not in a healthy way. Gaunt. She was shivering. She looked up at me, and for a second, I saw the flash of the woman I used to love. But it was buried under layers of exhaustion. "Bruce," she whispered, her voice cracked. I didn't move. I didn't step back to let her in. I just stood there, filling the doorway. "Stacy." My voice was flat. No anger, no joy, just nothing. She hugged herself, shivering violently. "Can I come in, please? It's freezing." I stared at her. "Why?" "Why?" She blinked, tears welling up. "Because I'm your wife, Bruce. I'm home." "You left," I said. 2 years ago, you stole 125 grand. You left a note." "I know," she sobbed, a jagged, ugly sound. "I made a mistake, a huge mistake. It wasn't what I thought it would be." She took a step forward, assuming I'd move. I didn't budge an inch. "Who is it, honey?" Elena's voice floated from the living room, warm, confident. Stacy froze. Her eyes went wide. She looked past me into the warm, golden light of the hallway. Elena appeared behind me. She was wearing one of my flannel shirts over her leggings, holding a wine glass. She looked radiant, healthy, happy. She looked at Stacy. Then she looked at me. She put the pieces together instantly. "Oh," Elena said, not malicious, just surprised. Stacy stared at Elena, then back at me. Her face crumpled. The realization hit her like a physical blow. She thought I'd be sitting here in the dark, pining for her, waiting, kept in storage like old furniture. "You," Stacy stammered, pointing a shaking finger at Elena. "You have, someone?" "My fiancé," I said. I reached back and took Elena's hand. "Stacy, this is Elena." "Fiancé?" Stacy screeched. The sadness vanished, replaced by that familiar, sharp entitlement. You can't be engaged. We're still married. Are we? I asked. I filed for divorce on grounds of abandonment 18 months ago. Service by publication since you couldn't be found. The judge signed the decree last year. You're single, Stacy. Her jaw dropped. You divorced me without telling me? You left a note, I reminded her. Don't look for me, remember? But I'm back, she shouted, sounding desperate now. Bruce, listen to me. It was a disaster. I went to Italy. I met this guy, Marco. He said he was an investor. He took the money, Bruce. He took almost all of it. I've been working as a waitress in Jersey for 6 months just to get a bus ticket back here. She looked at me with pleading eyes. I have nowhere to go. I have no money. I'm sick, Bruce. I think I have pneumonia. Please, just let me in. We can talk. We have 30 years together. I looked at her. Really looked at her. I remembered the note. I remembered the cold sheets. I remembered my son knowing and not telling me. I remembered the nights I sat on the floor wondering why I wasn't enough. And then I looked at Elena, who built me up, who challenged me, who loved the man I was now, not the ATM I used to be. No, I said. Stacy blinked. What? No, I repeated. You can't come in. This isn't your house anymore. It's ours. I squeezed Elena's hand. But where will I go? Stacy wailed. It's raining. I'm your wife. Ex-wife, I corrected. Call Brad. She flinched. Brad? He won't answer my calls. He changed his number. I let out a short, dark laugh. Of course he did. The rat abandons the sinking ship. Well, I said, that sounds like a problem for you to solve. Bruce! She lunged for the doorframe, grabbing it with wet, cold hands. You can't do this. You promised. In sickness and in health. I pried her fingers off the wood, gently but firmly. You broke that vow the second you stole our future and walked out that door, I said softly. You wanted to find yourself, Stacy? Well, you're on your own. Go find yourself. I have nothing, she screamed, spit flying. You have exactly what you left me with, I said. I started to close the door. Bruce! Bruce! She was screaming now, a raw, terrifying sound. I looked her in the eye one last time. Goodbye, Stacy. I shut the door. I locked the deadbolt. I slid the chain across. The screaming continued for a minute, then turned into sobbing. Then, eventually, silence. I turned around. Elena was watching me, her eyes shining. She didn't say anything. She just walked over and wrapped her arms around my waist, burying her face in my chest. I held her. I took a deep breath. The house smelled like rain and Elena's vanilla perfume. It didn't smell like the past anymore. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I pulled it out. A text from an unknown number. Stacy, I'm at the bus stop. I have $12, please. I looked at the message. I thought about the $125,000. I thought about the mirror I smashed. I blocked the number. Who was it? Elena asked, pulling back to look at me. Nobody, I said. Just spam. We went back to the couch. We finished the wine, and for the first time in my life, I didn't wonder what could have been. I knew exactly what I had, and I knew exactly what it cost. Epilogue. It's been 6 months since that night. I heard through a cousin that Stacy is living in a shelter in the next town over. Apparently, she's trying to sue me for alimony. My lawyer, a shark named Robinson, laughed so hard he spilled his coffee when he saw the paperwork. Abandonment and theft, he told me. She'll be lucky if we don't press charges for the money she stole, though good luck getting blood from a stone. Brad tried to reach out last week. An email. Hey Dad, heard Mom's back. Crazy, right? Maybe we could grab a beer. I miss you. I didn't reply. I forwarded the email to my spam folder. I have a new crew at work, a bunch of young guys who look up to me. I treat them better than my own son treated me. That's my family now. Them and Elena. We're getting married in the spring. In the garden I designed. Sometimes when I'm out in the yard, digging in the dirt, sweating under the sun, I think about that sticky note. I need to live. She was right. She did need to live. And so did I. She just didn't realize that her leaving was the only way I'd ever actually start living. I struck a root with my shovel, snapped it in two, and kept digging. The foundation for the new gazebo was going to be deep, solid, unshakable, just like me.